Housing prices are going up, banks are failing and getting bailed out. What's going to happen and what is the repercussions to the real estate market? We're going to cover all that and more, so stay tuned. Hey guys, I'm Justin DeCrosta, and if you get any value out of watching this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell for all of our future videos dropping once a week. We cover some national real estate news, as we'll do today, and a lot of locally Southern Connecticut, Milford, Orange area real estate comings and goings as well. So you don't want to miss those videos. Let's get right into today's topic. So the big topic over the past few days and over the past week is the failing of a couple of major banks, neighborhood or quote community banks. And thankfully, they're able to get bailed out, but it has caused a lot of uncertainty in the market. And I want to just go over exactly what those banks failing and getting bailed out means for the real estate market. So first off, how do banks fail? Well, think of A Wonderful Life. One of my favorite Christmas movies and definitely one of our favorites in our family's household. But towards the end of the movie, George's bank almost collapses because they run out of money. Well, this is how banks fell, and this is how the two major banks this past week did. What happens when customers come in and they deposit money, the bank's going to hang on to about 10% of those funds and then take all of the rest of the money and invest it elsewhere. When they get in trouble is when the customers come calling and want to take out their money, and multiple people do that at a high volume, and the bank doesn't have enough to cover those customers' transactions. The banks will collapse, and that's what happened over the past couple of weeks here, and what's called as a bank run, and ultimately ending in the bank failing and getting bailed out. Now, how does this relate to the housing industry? Well, right after both of the banks failed, the basis points on a 30-year fixed mortgage dropped by 13 points. And although we don't have the numbers yet, it is my prediction that when we look back on both of the days that the banks failed and subsequent mortgage drop in basis points, we're going to see an influx of mortgage applications. And when we look a little bit even further back than that, we're going to see that pending transactions also upticked for that week specifically as well. Coincidentally, the consumer price index report dropped the following day, and it showed us that inflation had dropped for the 8th straight month, which is great. And as we bring up this USA Today article, we could see at the top of it, in CPI inflation rate slows to 6.4%. And if we go down here, you'll see the high of 9.1. So almost a drop of 3% in the inflationary rate, which is perfect, which is what everybody wants to see. And hopefully food pricing especially follows, specifically those crazy egg prices. So these are all really great signs for the economy as a whole, but the next thing to keep our eye on is the next CPI report, which drops on May 10th. And so that one's going to be very important. It's widely believed to be that those are going to be very, very positive and encouraging numbers. And I'm going to tell you exactly how that relates to the housing market in just a second. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate is most closely aligned with the 10-year Treasury note than it is the federal funds index. So it's important to remind yourself that those two aren't as directly related as you may think. So when the report comes out that the Fed raised it 1/4 point or whatever it was that week, remind yourself is more closely in line with the 10-year Treasury note than that exact number. Whatever they raise it, whatever the Fed raises on that number or percentage, doesn't necessarily mean that mortgage rate's going to raise that exact number. Now, aside from buyers losing purchasing power as mortgage rates increase, it's also going to negatively affect the inventory market, because we've said it before in our videos, is that when someone's sitting on a 3 or 4% or maybe even lower mortgage rate, it's really hard for them to upgrade, trade in their home, upsize, downsize, whatever the reason for moving. and go into a higher interest rate. So that's going to, again, negatively affect the inventory because people are just going to sit and wait it out. We've said it before a million times to see what these rates are changing are a little bit closely aligned from what they're already in and would potentially go into on their next home. So people are sitting on their homes longer than expected, waiting for the market to kind of filter out. Because of that reason alone is causing them to stay in the home longer and thus decreasing the amount of available homes, which is causing the housing shortage. Another factor to think about is something that we talked about last week, is that on average, new home builds are down 30% nationwide. So if there aren't new homes being built and people are staying in their house longer because there's high interest rates, not only for buyers, but for them to move into their next home, we're going to see a severe lack in inventory, which we're seeing. Now, last week we talked about how Milford's trying to overcome that by approving a brand new housing project on West Avenue, and we're hopeful that there are some additional projects coming down the pipeline. But it's important to remember that these projects do take a long time, and that alone is not going to help solve the housing shortage. Now, all that being said, we have this very hot housing market still, but not a lot of transactions happening, which we've been talking about. If we take a look here at our Redfin, this is going to be all metro areas. Here, let's go down to, we don't want all metros, but it's pretty similar even nationally. We're going to go New Haven, Connecticut. It's the county that we're in right now. And these are the medium, these are new listings. We don't want that. We want median sales price. Here we go. Okay, so median sales price, you can look right here. We bottomed out at the beginning of the year at $345,000 for a median sales price. Now look at this chart as we're just tracking up, 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 and prices are continuing to rise. And so it's weird. You have all this scarcity of homes. You have the higher than we've seen in the past couple of years mortgage rates, but yet we're seeing housing prices take off here early in quarter one. Let's see, let's get rid of these other lines here. That was 21, 22. We just want 23, so you get more of an accurate picture. Get rid of 22. Boom, look at that. This is the beginning of the year. Yeah, January start date, January 16th, right off to the end of the year. And look at this very sharp curve going up. A lot of the issues that we've been talking about the mortgage rates and selling and the inventories and housing prices are just continuing to climb here in early 2023. Here's a CNBC article, mortgage rates tumble in the wake of the bank failures. And so the 30-year fixed mortgage rate dropped to 6.75 right on the days that we had the mortgage bailout. They have since gone up from this number, but it's all a good sign. You have inflation coming down. Remember, we talked about the CPI, eighth straight month in decline, about 3.5 percentage points overall since the height of it, and a decrease in mortgage, although this one was short term, but all good signs. But then you're going to go back to your Redfin here and the medium sales price in New Haven County, and price points are continuing to go straight up as depicted on this graph. I think 2023 may be one of the third or fourth highest volume years in the real estate market to date. Think about 4 to 5 million transactions are going to happen this year. And all of these numbers that we talked about in some of these articles are kind of pointing towards that way to keep this demand quite high. And that really is more of a normal market. We had an outlier market in 19 and 20 where we saw 6 to 7 million transactions. I think that we're going to come back to more of a normal market around 4 to 5, which is still, as I said, would rank us third or fourth highest volume of all time. So still really high. Now, I can't predict what's going to happen in the future. All we can do is keep our eye on some of these key notes here. We know May 10th, the new CPI report comes out. We'll review next month what the median sales price is looking and revisit those numbers as well to try to predict in real time of what's going to happen here in the real estate market. We will see you guys next week.